We use these things every single day, but what is really going on inside our computers? Today, we're going to dissect the anatomy of a computer system, breaking it down into its most essential parts so we can understand how it all actually works together. So, let's dive right in. Right? We've all got one, whether it's on our desk or in our pocket. But what's actually happening in there? It's so much more than just a box of wires and chips. It's this incredible dynamic combination of hardware, software, data, and networks, all working in concert for a specific purpose. And how we even got to this point, well, that's quite a story. And man, the journey to get here has been absolutely wild. If you go way back to 1952, you had the EDVAC, one of the very first machines that could actually store a program in its memory, which was just a huge leap forward. Then, fast forward to 1981, the IBM PC comes along and basically sets the standard for personal computing in the business world. And then, of course, the 90s hit, and the World Wide Web just explodes, turning these specialized tools into portals to the entire planet. All right, so let's start this whole anatomy lesson with the absolute core, the basics. The physical machine itself, that's the hardware, and the code that actually brings it to life, that's the software. Just think of it like the skeleton and the brains of the whole operation. Okay, so right at the heart of the brains, you've got the operating system, or the OS. You can think of it as the master conductor of an orchestra. It's the foundational software that manages, well, everything. From the second you hit that power button, it's directing traffic, handling memory, and making sure all the different parts can talk to each other. It's basically the machine's central nervous system.
So if the OS is the brain, how do all your other programs actually talk to it? Well, that's where the API comes in. An API, or Application Program Interface, is basically a special language, a set of commands and functions that lets software, like your web browser or your favorite game, communicate with the operating system to get things done.
And you gotta understand, this interaction is absolutely crucial. The API is like the official translator. It lets an app say, "Hey, OS, I need you to save this file," or "Hey, I need to connect to the internet." I mean, think about it. Without these APIs, your favorite apps would just be stuck, totally isolated and unable to use any of the computer's most basic essential features.
All right, so a computer system, it's a powerful machine for sure. But on its own, it's just sitting there waiting for something to do. That something, the fuel that gives it purpose, is data. But raw data by itself, it's not all that useful until we can process it and turn it into something with actual meaning. And it all follows this really fundamental cycle. A computer system takes in raw data as input. I mean, that could be you typing on your keyboard, or it could be a sensor out in a field collecting weather data. Then it processes that data, and finally, it produces useful information as output, like a finished report or a 5-day forecast. Input, process, output. And today, the amount of data we're talking about is, well, it's just staggering. We're talking about what's called big data. These are data sets that are so massive and they're generated so quickly from things like social media feeds or machine sensors that your typical traditional software just can't handle it. So how in the world do we make any sense of all this? Well, it's this really powerful two-step process. First, we use data analytics. That's software and statistics, to sift through all that noise and find meaningful patterns and insights. Then, we use data visualization to bring those findings to life, putting them into charts, dashboards, and maps, letting us see the story the data is trying to tell us, at a glance. So a single computer system is powerful, no doubt, but its real potential, that gets unlocked when it connects to others. And this brings us to the circulatory system of our digital anatomy, networks. These are the connections that link individual systems together into the huge digital world we live in today. I mean, networks are really the backbone of how we work together today. Think about it, sending an email, hopping on a video conference, joining a web meeting, even using internal social platforms like Yammer. All these tools let teams share info and collaborate like they're in the same room, even if they're on opposite sides of the planet. And what's the engine behind all of this connectivity? These huge, incredibly sophisticated buildings called data centers. They are the physical heart of what we call the cloud. They house all the powerful servers and networking gear that run the services we depend on every single day, from streaming a movie to storing our family photos. But, of course, this giant web of connectivity, it has a darker side. When you have so much communication happening online, it creates opportunities for threats like phishing. This is where a scammer pretends to be your bank or some other company you trust, trying to trick you into giving up confidential info.
They're basically exploiting the very trust that makes these networks so useful in the first place. Okay, so we've covered the hardware, the software, the data, the networks, the whole shebang. But why? What's the point of it all? At the end of the day, we build these incredibly complex systems for one ultimate reason: to serve the needs of people and businesses. Seriously, look at almost any part of a modern business, and I guarantee you'll find a computer system running the show. In production, they're managing shipping and inventory. In finance, they're providing real-time data to analyze risk. In customer service, they're managing relationships. They are absolutely everywhere and completely indispensable.
And this is where something like a digital dashboard becomes an absolute game changer. These tools give managers a live, visual snapshot of what's happening in their business right now. It lets them spot trends and make faster, smarter decisions based on actual data instead of just, guessing.
But it's not all about spreadsheets and business efficiency. At its heart, this vast network of computer systems has created something entirely new: cyberspace. As the author Bruce Sterling once put it so beautifully, it's the place between the phones, the indefinite place out there where the two of you, human beings, actually meet and communicate. It's become a fundamental part of how we interact.
And believe me, this evolution is not slowing down. We have incredible technologies on the horizon. Things like 3D bioprinting that might one day create living tissue, or the semantic web, which wants to make information itself more intelligent. Which kind of leaves us with this one huge, fascinating question. What is the anatomy of tomorrow's computer system even going to look like?